fire tore through a project at the corner of 23rd and Valdez Streets, 2 blocks from Lake Merritt.
Da Lin is following the investigation, but first, Simon Perez live on the scene with details on the fire and the evacuation still in effect. Simon?
Veronica, it's probably going to be tomorrow or the end of the weekend before some 900 people who live here near the fire can get back into their homes. The big reason why? That crane. Cal OSHA says it's stable but needs to come down, and taking it down carefully could take a while. So until then, everyone needs to stay clear.
Everyone is accounted for, all pets are accounted for.
Even though this is what erupted at 4:30 this morning. About 80 firefighters showed up to try to knock down the flames. That scaffolding is 4 stories high.
The fire had spread to the elevator shaft on the opposite side of the building, and once it hit that, it just took off.
When we came out, the fire was like, it was crazy.
As in crazy hot. National Weather Service satellites registered the heat rising from the scene at 900 degrees Kelvin. That's 1,160 degrees Fahrenheit. It was so hot, the crane at the center of the building started spinning. Cal OSHA says the crane is stable, but taking it down could be risky, so they're estimating 24 to 48 hours for the job. Until then, no investigators allowed on the site, and none of the 900 people who live nearby will be able to go home. Take a look at this. The crane is actually sitting on wood blocks. The fire department says they didn't burn because they're so big they need several hours of direct flames on them to catch fire. Also, lots of debris covered them up and protected them. Even as late as this afternoon, fire crews were still dousing hot spots. For all the carnage at the site, no one died, no one got hurt.
This is not a ghost ship story, thankfully.
So this building was set to be about 200 apartment units. Oakland City Council member McElhaney says that once the construction crews review the foundation and make sure it's stable, Veronica, they're going to start rebuilding.
All right, Simon, we appreciate that. Thank you. Our KPX5 crews rushed to the scene and were there at the height of the fire all morning long. The flames were raging right behind our reporters and photographers for hours as fire crews worked to get them under control. KPX5's Katie Nelson tells us what it was like.
We got to the scene about 5 o'clock this morning, and from where we were standing right here, the heat from the fire was so intense it felt like a blast furnace in our face. Ash was raining down everywhere, covering the streets, the sidewalks, and cars.
As we mentioned, neighbors will be kept out of their homes until that crane comes down. The Red Cross has just opened this shelter for those with no place to go. It is set up at the St. Vincent de Paul Community Center on San Pablo Avenue. Earlier, evacuees went to the Cathedral of Christ the Light on Harrison Street as fire crews worked to keep that fire from spreading to their buildings. Hundreds of people got that early morning wake-up call to get out of their homes and out of harm's way.
The police knocked on the door real hard and said, you got to get evacuated, you got to get out of here. So I was like, could I move my car? He said, no, you got to take yourself and get out of here. You could feel the heat and the ashes dropping on my car.
My mom said, you guys have to wake up, get your stuff, and get out.
Holy crap, that's the biggest fire I've ever been this close to. It is not a house fire. It is giant. It was all the way up into the sky, and I thought maybe we should get away from this thing.
Hours after the fire, police escorted the people who live at 100 Grand back into their building, but only to grab essential items and quickly leave. Since the power was still turned off, some people had to walk up 19 floors to get back home.
We can give you an overview of the construction project from Google Earth and capture the development as it was going up. It was already a part of the local landscape. Street-level shots show work being done on the first 3 stories of what was supposed to be a 6-story apartment building. And this is what it was going to look like. The building, known as Alta Waverly, was set to be completed next spring, and it would include 196 market-rate apartments and up to 31,500 square feet of retail, with parking for residents in an underground garage. The property developer, Wood Partners, says they were grateful that no one was hurt. Our team coverage continues right now with KPX5's Da Lin and Da. There seems to be a pattern with these types of fires.
Well, the city is saying that they haven't said if this fire is suspicious or not, but they are very concerned, and they say they're putting a lot of resources into determining the cause of this fire.
It's pretty heartbreaking.
Contractor Perry Silver spent the last 6 months working on this building.
My first reaction when I was watching the news early this morning was It would definitely seem like set intentionally.
Oakland fire investigators are working with the Alameda County Arson Task Force and ATF agents to find the cause.
Obviously something that concerns all of us. It's our jobs to make sure that everyone feels safe in this city and to do everything that we can to prevent either intentional or accidental tragedies.
City leaders say the job site had motion sensing cameras similar to this one. Investigators will look at the footage. A sign at the site also says guard on duty. This is the 5th fire that destroyed a building under construction in recent years. The last fire happened on the Emeryville-Oakland border. Investigators say someone burned down this building twice, May of this year and July of last year. ATF agents released surveillance footage of the suspected arsonist. On October 31st, 2016, a fire destroyed a building on Lester Avenue near Lake Merritt. No cause for that fire yet. Back in June of 2012, investigators say an arsonist burned down this building next to the West Oakland BART station. It was supposed to be senior housing. All of these buildings were similar in stages of construction. The wood framing was complete, but before fire protection materials like drywall and sprinkler system were installed. Some worry the motive might be opposition to new development.
This type of development is what Oakland needs to get through this moment where rents are skyrocketing, where housing is in high demand. This is a loss for our city and for this region right now. And that is why we are so determined to ensure that we get to the bottom of what caused it.
No timeline as to when fire investigators will have the cause of this fire. Now, the hot spots are out, the smoke is gone. Looks like fire investigators will be able to go into that building soon to look at the scene. Veronica?
And I understand that you've talked to builders and developers out there today. Are they going to increase security at these sites? Do you know?
Upping security is certainly an option, but I talked to one builder who says that he is spending about $250,000 on his security system, and he says if he's going to put more money into it, he'd rather put that money into a temporary fire sprinkler system. He thinks that will be more effective.